Wow, that is extremely delayed. Um, well, figures. Ah, yeah, I know. Why is it not? There we go. Focused. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Um, man, what is going on? Well, wow, I have a really bad. Okay. So I have a really bad delay going on right now with this, and I don't know what's going on. Like I am delayed by almost a full minute. And I'm getting another warning. What is going on? Bitrate 1600. Okay, I know. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. I thought I had this all fixed, but for some reason it's not wanting to just work. There, is that better? No, I still got a delay. Okay. Oh, this is annoying. Okay, is that better? Wow, that delay is not nearly as bad as now. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so we are live. I'm going to be working on the PDP-11, but as you can see, I have another mess on my desk here. We had some storms in the kind of like that light's bright. We had some storms in the area, really bad storms that were supposed to hit, and even though I don't get a lot of water in the basement, especially in this room, I just wanted to get stuff that was in cardboard boxes off the floor that I have not yet gotten onto my reorganized part shelf yet. So I'm still getting stuff cleaned up. But I am making progress with this room. Much better. Okay. And yeah, I joked I just got a new camera. It's not this one. Unless you guys want to watch true 640 by 480 resolution. Okay. Oh, the thing is, I even planned this stream a little better. I did, and yet I still have a massive mess to clean up. Before we get to the fun part of testing that PDP-11 a little bit and seeing how far we can get with that. so many Apple II power supplies. Don't think we're going to need my soldering iron today. Unless I see caps in that power supply that are really leaking and then I really want to get them out. Meter, screwdriver. Don't need all these Apple components right now. Little related note, I finally was going through a lot of the documentation and stuff I got all from those that Apple haul, and these are all duplicate documents. DOS manual, modem user guides, Apple III stuff, sealed Apple III owner's guide. Yeah, that all stuff's going to be getting thrown onto eBay at some point. Get it out into the collection. Okay. All right. Okay, so to everyone who's joining in, yeah, the title says we're working on my PDP-11, or at least going to start working on it. I'll talk about that here in a second, but yeah, I had a mess I had to clean up on my desk real quick before we started. And I decided to not opt for my usual camera, which I just realized is not down here anymore. Oh, there it is. The usual camera I use for recording YouTube videos and stuff. Yeah, my first stream I did a couple weeks ago, I found out this thing, when plugged into a computer and turned into webcam mode, decides it's not going to show anything unless you're about that far away, like a normal webcam would. Anything beyond that, it just freezes on the last image. So, yeah, it was not fun to try and use this. I'm sure that, I think there's an HDMI port. Yeah, there's an HDMI mini port. I think if I hook that up directly to a capture card, it'll work as like what I'm doing now with this webcam, but either way. Finally getting it tomorrow? Is that the, which one is that you mentioned? The 2E or the original 2? I think I remember you mentioning you found an Apple II, but I don't remember if it was the original 77, the Apple II Plus, or the 2E. That's going to make a mess. It's going to fall everywhere and make a mess. I'll put them over here. Okay. Now I think I have enough cleared off space to go grab the mini computer. Yeah, and mini sure is subjective here. Yeah, finally going to start cracking into my PDP-11 here. This is, oh, I'm actually excited to finally get working on this. And to also take a break from Apple things. Just because of all the Apple hardware and documentation and software and hardware that I've picked up over the past, well, about calendar year. I think it was about this time I started finding Apple II stuff. So, yeah, between all that, I could basically change my channel name to Definitely Casual Apples or something and just do nothing but Apple stuff for the next, like, year. And don't want to do that. So, taking a break from that, I'm going into my PDP-11. 2E with monitor, dual disc, and printer. That's about what I picked up. That first wave of things was, well, it was two 2Es, two monitors, and a printer. But yeah, that's, I find that you usually find those all together. You know what, I'm gonna do this. Haha, much better. So yeah, I'll turn that back on when I open the power supply up. But yeah, usually when I see Apple IIs and stuff on like the Facebook Marketplace or something like that, it's the setup. It's the Apple II monitor, printer, that kind of stuff. But yes, anyway, my long-awaited PDP-11 03. Yeah, I'm actually really excited to finally crack into it. In a live stream, I decided it'd be a lot more fun if I do this in a live stream instead of just trying to make a video on it, just because of the fact that this is such a... mini computers in general are just unique when it comes to the whole universe of retro computing. Just because even the cheapest mini computer at the time would have still been outside of the range of most people's budgets. I mean, this thing, I think, and this is just the compute unit. The full PDP-11 stood about, well, about this tall, size of a dishwasher. It had this, and two 8-inch drives, and then a hard disk drive that was, I think, 10 megabyte, 20 megabyte, I think. And I think that was pushing like $10,000 plus just for that. But yeah, in this video we're going to be, or I'm sorry, this is the live stream. It's being recorded later for a video, but in this video and live stream, we're going to be at the very least talking about this, cracking it open, opening the power supply, taking a look at the internals, and if everything looks good, like I don't see any bulging caps, leaking caps, burnt traces, blackened resistors or diodes, maybe we'll plug this into power and just see if there's any life in it. Because this is going to be the most challenging restoration I think I'm ever going to do on the channel thus far. Things like the Apple IIs are easy because they're documented. The Apple II GS, the Amigas, the Commodores, they're all documented and they're common. These, not so much. Okay. So this particular one, I was really ironic story here with this. In a prior video, I talked about how I was trying to find a mini computer to just play around with, something simple, something basic. You know, I didn't need a giant, like 9-foot tall PDP-8 or anything like that. I just wanted a basic, bare bones mini computer. And yeah, like I said before, the term mini is in the eye of the beholder. Just so I can play around with, learn about the hardware, the software, the you know, the architecture in a way. And at least I wanted something that was at least known. I didn't want to have some obscure proprietary thing, which in that video I mentioned before, I did find a very proprietary backplane based mini computer-ish system, but I still can't find any documentation on that board or the boards. I still need to go back and talk to the gentleman that had it, see if he wants to do with the rest of the backplane and the rest of the unit. But anyway, I was on Usagi Electric's Discord, and Charles at Retro Computer Ranch actually got in contact from a gentleman who had picked up at least a couple of these PDP units, a couple different ones anyway. There was a couple of these PDP 1103s. There was an 1123, and there was a another. I think it was 1103 or 23, and a unique 8222 backplane. And this gentleman got a hold of me and asked if I wanted this thing, and I said, you know, absolutely. Again, it was the right place, right time kind of situation. And it's one of those things. That's one of the things I love about the retro community. It's, you can always, I'm trying to figure out the way to word this. You can always kind of tell when somebody is a kind of computer and like hardware enthusiast versus just somebody wanting to make a quick buck, because people find these kind of things at like e-waste facilities, or they find them at um, clearing out warehouses and stuff like that, and they know they're worth something, so they throw it on eBay for like 2, 3, 4 grand, and they just sit on them. Well, or they sell them for just a couple bucks, just for basically what they paid for gas to get it out of the building, and that's basically what this one was here. And yes, this one here is perfect for what I was wanting. The PDP-1103 is basically the first of the, at the time, newish Q-bus based backplanes versus the older Unibus backplanes. When it comes to PDP, at least on the deck PDP side here, the Unibus backplane was the ones that you see, the cliche thing where it has like a half a dozen cards just for the CPU, couple cards for RAM, couple cards for controllers, and you need like 14 slots just to get the computer to turn on. The Q-bus ones were, everything was consolidated down to be made much, much smaller. In fact, the CPU on this one is just a single small card. Where did I put them? Over there. So yeah, that's I love this thing. I can't wait to crack into it. My only thing is I would love to put this into a server rack to store it when I'm not actively working on it, but I ran into a bit of a problem in that these are a lot deeper than a lot of modern computers for rack mount stuff, so it would stick out quite a bit. So I'm actually trying to find a rack that's both deep enough and also small enough to fit down here in my basement, because as you can see, my ceiling's not very tall. My ceilings, well, I've got shoes on, so my ceilings are like 6'3", 6'4" height. It's a very odd height for a basement. Anyway, let's get to looking at this thing. This might blow it out, but yeah, not too bad. Okay. Yeah. Not that we're going to use the cards, but I'll talk about the cards here real quick before we get into testing the power supply. Yes, I'm procrastinating a little bit on that. Yeah, the Universal 822 is a 1123 in a rack mount chassis. Okay. I wasn't sure if yours was 1103 that it had a 23 CPU in it, or wow, that blew out really bad. Oh my god. I need to get a diffuser for this light. Yeah, I couldn't remember if yours was an 1103 with a base system that had a 23 CPU in it, or if it was a full 1123. And yeah, that's kind of what makes this machine here special, is the 1103 not just being the first of the Q-bus based systems, it was also the first of the large scale integration systems. So before, like I said earlier, with it needing like 6 cards just for the CPU, all like discrete logic, the PDP-03 here consolidated everything down to a single card, and even then the card was tiny compared to what they used to be. I know I'm procrastinating getting into this thing, but I'm doing it for a reason. In fact, I'll kind of show an example of what I'm talking about. Because I still have that weird proprietary board system. I have no idea how to use this. But anyway, this is roughly-ish the size of like the PDP-8 and the earlier Unibus-based PDP cards. It's roughly the same size. It's not even close to being the same connector, but this is roughly how big they were. And for comparison, when they switched to the Q-bus and this 1103, yeah, it went down to this size. And yes, there was PDP-11, 23, 43, 73, and 83 boards that were full width like this, but most of them were going to be these, they call them dual height. Oh yeah, that's the so that's the other reason why I want to get some progress going on this, is because Charles Retro Computing Ranch, he got sent a couple things, and he's going to be hopefully sending it to me if everything works out here. He got given I think it was 2 or 3. I think it was 3 PDP-11 23 CPUs, which would basically slot in to replace this 1103 CPU. Now, actually, that wouldn't, I should clarify that. It's not going to beef this thing up a whole lot. The CPU's faster, the CPU's better, the CPUs can do a lot more instructions, a lot faster instructions. It's the same size as this card. But what it can do is take more RAM. This PDP-1103 CPU can only use one of these RAM boards, and they're only 64K of RAM. So basically it would just be a 64K system with this little CPU card. With the 1123 CPU that Charles hopefully is going to send me, if this thing all works out anyway, I could actually go a lot more than 64K with just a CPU upgrade. The only problem with that is, though, is I would need to track down the MMU chip, the memory management unit, for that CPU so that I could actually put more than 64K in. And I've actually done a little bit of digging on that. So when I picked up this PDP-11 from the gentleman, he actually gave me a spare 64K RAM board. So I have 2 M8044 RAM boards. So in theory, if I can get this to work, and Charles sends me that 1123 CPU, and I find the MMU chip, I can put both of these RAM cards in side by side and double this RAM to 128K. I actually did a little bit of digging on some of the documentation for the 1123, and that's basically how it works. I can load almost as many as these dual height RAM boards as I can to get as much RAM as I want. Not that what I'm planning on doing with this that would actually matter much. In fact, just 64K would be more than enough, because again, it's going to be just a single user using it, just learning how to use the operating system. But we're not going to be worried too much about that. I just want to see if this thing has any life in this PS power supply. All right, so let's crack it open. Now I'm going to need this on and blow out the camera. God, I need to get a diffuser for that really bad. Do I have anything around that can act as one? It's an LED light, it's not going to have too much. Well, I'll get a diffuser at some point. Anyway, nothing I've done to this so far since I've gotten it is I blew the dust out of the fans and all that, so no idea what all works on this. I am lucky, though, it does have the front panel switches here. Because without this little, there's a moth in here. Without that little daughter board there, this thing probably wouldn't even power up, because it needs the signaling from this switch in a certain way. Okay. How does this power supply come apart? All right, so before I fully take it apart, I'm going to grab my phone and look real quick. But I can already see there's 2 massive capacitors right here that are not bulging. So that's a good sign there. I've got 2 massive, I think these are AC fans. 115 volt AC cooling fans. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to replace these with Noctuas anytime soon. This one does not turn very free at all, so I don't know if that one would even move. Yeah, thanks to I'm gonna butcher that name, Demersef, for donating the 86 cards to Charles. Okay, so how does this fully come apart? Um, and yes, I downloaded the massive multi-megabyte owner's guide. So there should be two barrel latches. Oh, right here. Ooh. Okay. Um, okay. Unplug that pin header. Undo these screws. Take a picture of these lugs real quick. Okay, let's just take a picture of these. Oh, they're upside down. Need to remember that. Okay. Make sure I put all these back the way they were. Before I do that, is there a better way to do that? Oh, where'd that screw go? Don't lose a screw. Is there really not a way to undo that? Well, there might not be a way to undo that. I think. Oh boy. Keep getting a random bitrate warning even though I fixed it. Okay, well, not really a good way to undo these lugs. Not really, anyway. God dang it. Okay. I'm just going to reattach the wires on those lugs. They're attached in a really weird way, and they're not really all that great to try and unplug. So we'll just be really careful when we're looking at stuff. Okay. Okay. So, really carefully. There we go. Okay. And there is that massively overbuilt power supply. Yeah, definitely makes those ATX ones we use nowadays almost look like toys. Well, I don't see any leaking caps. I don't see any burnt traces or bulging caps or corrosion, really, of any kind. And no reefa caps. Gee, it's almost like somebody was intelligent when they built this thing. That's kind of a that's kind of a bash at a lot of computer companies that were putting reefa caps in every power supply, like the Apple. Okay, so the reason why I said before why I don't know how far we're going to get with this is because this power supply is missing a part, and I kind of knew it was missing a part. The gentleman I got it from, he did take a look inside the power supply and noticed there was a card missing. See if I can get this camera moved to it without it freaking out. Oh, trying to do this is a pain in the butt because there's like a delay when I'm moving it. Okay. Anyway, yes, here is the giant, massive power supply. And as you can see, there's a card here. This controls the voltage 5 volt and 12 volt. And the card that's missing is right here. There's an empty slot. And the guy I got this from, he took a look inside the power supply when before he asked if I wanted it. And we're kind of confused as to why this card's missing, because this is actually a very crucial component. So what we think happened is that this was in the same place as 2 more of these machines. So we're kind of wondering if the thought process anyway between the few of us has been conversing back and forth about this. We think that this was pulled from service for whatever reason and used as a cold spare for parts for the one that was still functional. And for whatever reason, they pulled that card, which is kind of annoying because that does mean this thing is effectively stalled until I can get that card. But we'll cross that bridge when we come. We're gonna check the power supply first before we do anything with that. But yeah, it is missing a crucial card. But yeah, I don't see any bad caps or any bad components. I don't see any chips with burn marks on them. I don't see anything really overly bad. And that's kind of a testament, because apparently these power supplies are actually really robust. So maybe this thing might just power up and work. Well, might power up and work. I don't know, because I'm thinking with this card missing, it might not actually do anything. Because this card is known as the power monitor board. And from the documentation and the schematics I've read on this, it senses the incoming voltage coming out of the power supply across it and allows voltage of a certain kind anyway to go into the backplane. which is needed to power up the expansion cards. That's kind of the thing. I don't know exactly if that's super needed, but from some of the documentation I've kind of read and the schematics, it is necessary to function. So again, I don't know. I want to see how far we can get with this today. So that's before we put any power to it or any power inside the back plane and the power supply, let's test this power switch, because why not? Okay. Okay, let's just see if the voltages coming out of this power supply are going to be good, because I actually don't know. Okay. Put the camera closer in case there's any fireworks, because we all like fireworks and letting the magic smoke out. All right. Now this is not sending power into the power supply or the backplane yet. I'm wanting to test voltages here first before I do anything. So. Well, that's one fan kicked on. This fan is not. Yeah, that fan seized up. But hey, this is kind of good, because it means that, whatever circuitry in here is at least sending power out. I mean, it's not probably the right power, but we'll have to see when we check it. And yes, I'm using a vastly overpriced meter for any computer stuff. It's a snap-on one, if that tells you anything. Okay, so this should be ground. Well, actually, that might not be ground. Well, I'm not getting very good. Well, it would help if I wasn't on millivolt. There we go. 33 volt. 22 volts. 6 volt. No voltage there. That's concerning. There's 100. There's 120 volt. Only 400 weekly payments of $4.99. Yeah, well, this is even the cheap one too. It's just the Bullseye meter basic. My boss has got a real cool one. It's the same chassis, but it's got a color LCD screen. It's got true RMS and all that kind of fancy stuff. Okay, so there is voltage coming out of the main switch, and there is at least a fan running, so it is at least getting 120 volts. So let's power that down. Switch. right, so already I know one thing. I'm gonna have to replace this cooling fan. I don't know where I'm gonna get a fan this size. A one, what was that? A 120 volt AC fan. Oh, good lord. All right, so I'm gonna plug the power switch into the power supply and see if there's the right voltages coming out of it, I guess. That's... But I am not going to plug this into the back plane yet because I want to kind of isolate things at a time. Okay, so let us see if, put that there, if the power supply is putting out the right voltages. If it is, great, but that also means you'll probably be stuck. But hey, we'll just see. Well, nothing popped. Nothing exploded in smoke. I think that's good. Well, I mean, I think. I know that's good. Okay, so we're going to check these lugs over here, see if they're outputting the right voltage. 12 volt. Oh, whoops. Now I'm on the wrong voltage again. DC volt. 12. I'm at 10. Ugh. What about 5 volt red? Okay, I got 5 volt and 5 volt. 5 volt. Okay. But I've only got 10 volts on the 12 volt line. That's... Okay. Well, I guess if it's undervolting, that's better than being overvolted. So, well, then again, maybe it's looking for a pin signal. Maybe it's looking for a pin signal from this little header here. I don't know. Let's plug the back plane fully in and I guess see what happens. Your back cooling fan is 120/20 38 millimeter. You can install 120 AC replacement or high flow DC fan if you find a good source of 12 volt DC. Well, I don't know if I have a good 12 volt DC source because I got 10 volt on that, but there could just be a weird signal thing because the pin is labeled V10 plus 12 volt. All right, so I got the back plane fully plugged in. I've got that plugged in. There is, I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to turn this around because if the power OK light comes on from the documentation I've read, that means the voltages in the power supply and to the back plane, at least the main ones that are somewhat needed, 12 volt and 5 volt, are good. If that light doesn't come on from the documentation, that means there's something wrong with the power supply. So hopefully I see that light. course, when I say from the documentation, I mean, I briefly read through it just enough to kind of get the gist of what I'm doing today. Because honestly, at this point, even if everything tests good, I'll be kind of stalled until I find that missing part. All right. I need known good ground. Okay, known good ground. Power on. Okay. Oops. Oh, don't, not frequency. Voltage. Okay, 5 volt. 5.1 volt. 5 volt. Oh wait, that's okay. 12 volt. Hey, I'm back up to 12 volts. All right. So it must have needed some signal then from that pin header that goes to the back plane for something. Awesome. And 5 volt. Yes. That means this power supply is working perfectly. And you can't see it, but I have power okay. Yes. Oh, that means this power supply is like 99% working. Oh, that is awesome. Oh, but that doesn't help me nothing because, well, actually, I don't know. Because if I've got all the voltages on those lugs, that means this power supply should be putting everything out. That power monitor board, I think, just sends the necessary, well, okay. Okay. Okay, so I have 5 volt and 12 volt where I'm supposed to on these lugs on the side of the back plane. There's 2 lugs that have no wires on them. One is 12 volt plus VV and the other is 5 volt plus VB. I don't know what those are needed for, but I do have a power OK light on. Those switches don't do anything because there's no cards installed. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could try and plug in the CPU card and the RAM card and just see if this run light comes on. I'm not sure. Well, I don't. I've converted my. Still wicked noisy. Yeah, this one's not all that noisy. I don't know if you can hear it, but this one's actually pretty quiet. The one that's working. Okay, well, before I lean on this in the wrong spot and do something weird. Okay, so I have a good 12 volt now and 5 volt at the lugs. I don't know. Because that board that's missing is the power monitor board, and the documentation, the schematics, when it detects good 5 and 12 volt internally, it's got 2 lines that come out and I guess come to the back plane somehow to trigger the cards enabling. I think is what those lines do. Without BPOC and BDCOK signals, I doubt the CPU will start, but it's worth checking. Yeah, that's so. So the thing is with those signal lines is there's a not a forum. I don't want to say forum. It's a guide that if you have just this card cage here and no other component for this, you don't even have the switch block. There's a method to build this switch block using like an Arduino or something. So you don't need the switch block. You don't need anything. It just powers up the card cage with an ATX power supply and that little microcontroller. Now I think that Arduino creates those two needed lines, but I that's for those that don't have the power supply and the switches. That guide only talks about if you have just like this bare cage. But yeah, I mean, I could put this power supply back together and then just put the CPU card in it and just see if it does anything. I mean, I don't have the cable to connect to my terminal at all. I haven't begun to even plan building that, but I mean, I could at least try it. And all the voltages are good. Okay. And I should mention this little power monitor board. It's not a very common thing to, I mean, this whole thing's not even common to come across, but that little board's not that common to come across on eBay. And I've been looking, and somebody did reverse engineer it, and I did download the Gerber files I could send to like PCBWay or I think, what's the other one? JLC. And I've been pricing it, and it would cost, I think just in the PCBs, if I go through PCBWay, it'd be like $50 just to get the PCB, and they'd send me 5 of them. Plus all the little components, the resistors, and the 555 timers and stuff. So, yeah, let's just put a CPU card in it and see if that run light comes on or something. I don't think it'll actually do anything because I don't have a terminal plugged in to reset anything, but you know, I guess who knows, if everything goes well, maybe I'll be needing to build a cable next time. Okay, so CPU card, the M7270. We'll toss in a RAM card just so that way it can try and do something. Okay, leftmost slots, plug in power. Okay, so ideally what should happen is at the very least the power light should come on. I mean, it can't, the run light I think is for if it's running code, but this thing shouldn't run any code because there's no, I have no storage for this thing. I have no tape drive, no floppy drives, no emulators for it. I don't have PDP-GUI. Yeah, I have a run LED on the front panel, Charles. I'm not sure. I thought the documentation said something about if the run light stays on, there's a fault. Which, obviously, there's going to be a fault. It's missing a part, but... when the card starts, it flickers a run LED. Well, let's see if what it does. Lower my camera here. Okay. All right. So, switches are all down. Halt switch. I don't know what the aux on-off switch does. There's another header back here, but I don't know what it does. But it shouldn't do anything. All right, so Let's just power it on and see what happens. Well, both lights came on, but it's not flickering it. But again, that's probably a fault on the power supply since it's missing that card, right? I mean, I don't have the right cable to connect this to my terminal, but that's progress. I mean, I guess I could just see if there's voltage on the CPU card itself. Well, I've got 12 and 5 volt on the CPU card. Yep, the CPU didn't see those two signals in the right time frame from 5 volt going live, so the CPU didn't start. Okay, so yeah, the CPU won't start, but the CPU card is getting the right voltages, except for those two clock signals. And I have no way of falsely triggering it. That's the problem. I'm pretty sure I can't just trigger it. No, there's no way for me to, I don't think. But that's further than I thought this thing was ever going to get, especially in this first live for it. That it's basically trying to start. Like, it wants to start. It just won't without that missing part. So, I guess I'm going to have to start planning on getting the stuff to build that power monitor board. I don't know if I want to go with PCBWay or through. I think it's JLC is the other one. I haven't decided who I want to go through yet for that. But yeah, I have the Gerber files, and I do have the documentation that has the parts list of all the resistors and capacitors. There's a couple ICs and there's some 555 timers. But yeah, that's this is actually more progress than I thought I was going to get with this. I kind of was assuming that, this was pulled from service for a reason. And I guess it's possible the reason why it was pulled from service was this dead fan, and they just set it up as a spare, and then the main one they were using popped that card in the power supply, and they just pulled it and swapped it. But yeah, this is progress. So, yeah, I'm not sure where else to go with this. Not that I can go anywhere with it, really. Because these switches won't do nothing. No. They won't do nothing because the CPU's not started. I mean, technically, the CPU's not started, so it's not halted. It's weird terminology on that. But yeah, my PDP-11 does. At least it lives. It wants to live. I just either need to find a way to trick and build those two clock signals, or somehow acquire that card, that part. But still, this is actually really cool. This is a lot further than I thought I was going to get. I was kind of halfway expecting there to be a massive issue with the with the power supply. So for recap for anyone who is just joining in, we we have success with the PDP-11, kinda, not full success. The power supply looked okay. There was no bad caps, no bulging caps, leaking caps, no fried resistors or popped ICs. There's a missing card out of this power supply, known as the power monitor board, that when it detects good 12 and 5 volt coming from the power supply internally, it allows 2 clock signals to go through to the back plane, which Charles or Community Ranch mentioned what they are. And unfortunately, without that card, there's no way to start the CPU. But I powered the CPU. I checked the power coming out of the switch into the power supply, and everything was good. Everything coming out of the power supply, as terms of 12 volt and 5 volts, good. And I have 5 and 12 volt on the CPU card. So the back plane is outputting the most of the voltages. This thing is like 90, basically 98% running. I'm literally missing just 2 signals to get this thing to display something on a terminal. Well, okay. I'm also missing the harness to go from this to my terminal, but that's splitting hairs. But anyway, yes, this thing's almost fully working. Hard to fake those signals. 5 volt DC has to go stable for at least 3 nanoseconds before BTOC goes high, and then the least 72 milliseconds has to pass before BPOC. Oh, so I kind of wonder if that's that guide why you need a why they were using Arduino to basically fake those signals. That way it would be programmed to send clock as needed. So yeah. But honestly, I'm just thrilled I got to this point. I really can't go any further from this point right now until I get that card built or I find one. But honestly, considering the fact that I got this thing almost fully functional, I mean, realistically, in a single life, I was kind of expecting there to be at least, well, okay. Let me rephrase this for a second. At this point, it's like 98% functional. I have no idea if the CPU, RAM, or the serial I/O card functions. I have no idea. I guess when I say 98% working, I mean in terms of power, it's 98% working. For all I know, the CPU card could be dead. I don't know. But none of the chips feel hot, so none of them's shorted. Yeah, I'm actually ecstatic and over the moon at working up to this point. All right, so since I made more progress in this live than I was expecting, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of expecting to pop this power supply open and have there be a couple bulging caps, some leaking caps, something, bad traces that would need to be diagnosed and fixed. But no, realistically, the only thing that's not working is, well, obviously it's the system because that board's missing, but that cooling fan. So I think the next thing is going to be, besides building that card or finding one or whatever, is I need to get this front panel off here so I can sandblast it and paint it. Somebody, it's really not showing up in camera. I wish everyone could see it, but it looks like somebody took like a household like paintbrush, like a horsehair brush, and slathered like tan paint over it, because you can see chips of where there's the original white paint peeking through. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm actually really happy about this. I mean, yeah, I'd be happier if, you know, way back when some IT technician didn't pull that power monitor card and would have left it in here, because then we could see if it actually is displaying something. You know, I could hook a lap scope or something to the output terminal of the serial card and at least see if it's sending something. But right now, this is this is awesome. I'm actually ecstatic by this. Oh boy! And I've only been doing this for about an hour. Oh, I kind of joked. I thought this was going to be a little bit longer, but yeah, sweet. All right, so game plan for this now is it's going to go back in the chassis section I took off, and I'm going to be slowly getting the parts needed to get that power monitor board built. I'm going to be pricing some PCBs through either PCBWay or I think it's JLC or JCL. I don't remember the other name of the other company for PCB manufacturing, but gonna get the resistors for that. I have a couple 555 timers laying around, some capacitors, so get that board built so I can get this thing up and going, at least in some capacity. Ideally, I would love to find someone who has, you know, hoarded a couple of these machines that I could borrow that little board from, just to, you know, see if this thing is, the CPU card shows life. Because right now I really can't test anything on the CPU card besides the 5 and 12 volt that's already there. I'm going to turn that off. Turn that off for a little bit. But yeah, ideally, if I could find somebody who has hoarded a couple of these, like in a warehouse or whatever, that I could just borrow that frickin' power monitor board from and just see if the CPU has any life. I mean, I'd have to build that serial cable so I can see an output on the terminal. But yeah, if I could at least see it showing life before I start, you know, spending all that money to build the power monitor board. I mean, I guess I could build, like, I could just order the 5-pack from PCBWay, build 5 of them, and then sell the other 4. Maybe you'll find one at VCF Midwest. Yeah, maybe I will. Because that's I plan on going to VCF Midwest this year. It's less than a month, a little over a month away. I'm still working on logistics of that because it's Friday and Saturday, and it's like a 5-hour drive, 4 or 5 hour drive for me one way. And I don't know if I want to just leave really early in the morning on a Friday. Make it there by the time that that VCF opens. Visit throughout that one day, and then try and schlep back the 5-hour drive all the way back, or what I'm going to do with that. I haven't decided yet. I need to decide that because it's coming. But yeah, maybe I'll meet up with somebody at VCF Midwest, and I'll you know, for whatever reason, maybe they'll have one of these that's junk that the only good parts of the power monitor board. Why am I getting a warning? Buffer overloaded? Why? It's running fine. Anyway. So yeah, this was actually a huge surprise. I was not expecting this thing at all to get to this point. I'm basically at the point where I'm stalled until I get that part with this, which is a good thing to have. That's a good problem to have, because that means that on the whole, this power supply is basically fully working. Once I get that power board in here and it outputs those 2 clock signals I need, the whole machine will be working, hopefully. So yeah, I'm actually happy about this, further than I thought I was going to get today. So awesome. Oh, so I think just for storage sake, I'm going to slot all these cards into the back plane. That way they're all kind of stored. But yeah, this video went way better than I thought it was going to. I'm having really good luck with this. I will admit, I do love the way these just slide in. They're so satisfying. All right. Oh, and then this, almost forgot to mention, for everyone who's watching, who are just joining in, I guess. This is the PDP-1103, and I'm only reiterating things because I see there's viewers. But this is the PDP-1103. This is actually the first of the PDP-11 with the Cuba style backplane, even though this is the weakest of the PDP-11s and also the cheapest at the time of the Q-Bus line. I actually learned something pretty interesting. Apparently, the PDP-1103, they came with two 8-inch floppy drives and a 10 megabyte hard drive. These were connected and usually used to bootstrap. I think it was one of the big PDP-11s, the 73 or the 74, one of the big PDP-11s. These were used to bootstrap them, basically as like the boot ROM, basically, from what I could gather, and I just find that oddly hilarious. But yeah, we have CPU card, 264K RAM cards, which right now I can only use one at a time with the 03 CPU. The 4-port serial card, and then this weird, this really weird card. That weird expander universal interface card that Charles at Retro Computer Ranch also has. I think one or two of these from his. And I have no idea how it works or what it does, so I'm just going to slide it in here, that way I don't ever lose it. Okay, so future goals and plans for the PDP-1103 here is I'm going to be taking this front panel off. I think I said this a little bit ago. Taking this thing off, taking it to work, sandblasting it, getting it taken down to bare metal, then getting it either powder coated white or painted white to go back to its original color. I might do something with the deck logo, maybe get that painted dark black or dark gray, that way it, stands out a little bit. And then slowly start getting the parts necessary to build that power monitor board. Because I want to see this thing running code. Like, I really do. Now that I know that I'm to this point with this thing, now I'm going to be impatient about it. And that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be impatient about this the entire time. So, yeah, this is not how I expected this video to go at all. Ooh. There is something really neat here. There's a sticker on top of the casing here that says what all cards were installed into this. So we have the M264, which is the KD11-Q, which is the CPU card. which is weird because this has the M270. So this thing must have had a different CPU card put in it. The second card was the M8044, which is the RAM card, one of them anyway. The next one was the M8013 and M8014, which was the RLV11-0. I don't remember what that is off the top of my head. And then we had the M8043, which is the 4-port serial card. There's the M8027, which I don't know what that is off the top of my head. And then the final board in here was the M8012, the PDP-11-AA, which is a bootstrap ROM card. I'm really hoping that I don't need that expansion card in here either. I don't think I would, but I guess you never really know. It was just a giant quad width board that had a bunch of empty ROM sockets and stuff, and you put your own ROM on it and then set the addresses on some wire wraps, and then it would auto boot into that. But yeah, that's all long time future stuff. So my full goal for this thing is, once I get the parts needed to get this thing up and running, is I want to see this thing running some sort of program, some sort of code, some sort of thing. The CPU card, both this and the 1123 CPU, have a built-in thing called ODT, which basically is the memory monitor. It's what you can, it's in the old days you would toggle it in with toggle switches, or you would use a glass terminal to type in the memory address of how to load certain programs and stuff in by hand, basically. And even though, yes, I would count that as functional and running code at that point, I want to see this thing run some sort of operating system before. I kind of mentioned when I first picked this thing up, I wanted it to be running something at the 1 year mark of me getting it. So I've still got like 11 to 10 months to get this thing up and going. But I would love to see this thing running the operating system RT11, which is basically tailor-made. Not tailor-made, it was made for most of the PDP-11s, but this one could really utilize it since it's got the weaker CPU and the lower RAM amount with 64K. Running some sort of cool fractal program and having it print out to a serial, like dot matrix printer, stuff like that. I would love to track down some more PDP-11 QBus cards that would fit in here electronically correctly, because there's something weird with these backplanes where you can't just shove cards into wherever. You have to have it loaded in a certain order and on certain sides. But yeah, I would love to see this thing running RT11, some sort of fractal program, basic. Like that would be like the end goal, was to have that terminal I have back there set up on top of this and running some sort of code. The lack of storage is a problem, because, like I said, these things came with the RL, or I think it was the RK or RL. I get those two mixed up all the time, but basically 2 8-inch floppy drives and then the hard drive and the matching controllers for them. But since, unless I'm exploring a decrepit business or something, and there happens to be a full cabinet 1123 or 43 or whatever sitting in the corner and they don't want nothing to do with it, I'm probably not ever going to find the floppy drives for these things. And then writing the floppy is going to be a pain in the butt too. Printer controller. Oh, so this thing was connected to a printer? I guess I didn't even think about that. This thing would have had a printer connected to it. So that means that somebody was using this as, well, a computer, basically. Like they were using, like, had a printer connected to it, so it could print out files and documents, I guess. You either need a bootstrap card or you have to enter your bootstrap via ODT. Yeah, that's going to be the thing, is with the bootstrap card. I'll have to either type it in manually or use PDP-11 GUI, which is a program on a modern laptop that you connect to that's using a USB to serial interface, and then you can send serial data to this thing to bootstrap it. But again, that's long future stuff with this project. This is going to be the most interesting project I'm going to restore, I think, on the channel for a while. Definitely for a while. Actually, I'll admit, I was kind of expecting this to have blown capacitors or something in the power supply, because again, there was a reason why this thing was pulled from service. But I was kind of expecting things to not be right in the power supply, and I'd be like 15 minutes into this live, I'd be like, oh, well, the power supply is basically fried. I'll have to track another one down. We're done for the day, and I have to move on to something else like the Apple II or the Apple III that I mentioned before. For storage, the easy start is a TU58 tape emulation, since the tape drive connects via serial and can be emulated with a PC. Yeah, it's probably going to be the first, well, not first thing I do with this once I get it up and running code, but that's definitely going to be how I'm going to be running storage on this thing, is to use an emulated tape drive, because it's going to be the kind of the easiest thing to do in terms of storage, and probably realistically, I'm going to say not most cost effective. I mean, because yeah, it's all obviously going to be cost effective, because these things are, anything PDP-11 is pricey to find anyway. But yeah, finding storage in terms for these things is not easy or cheap. Like I said, the only way that I would probably find storage for a PDP-11 is if on some random tangent thing I am exploring a building or a warehouse or something nearby me, which is unlikely, especially in my area, and there's something like this in the corner that has the RK and RL hard drive and floppy drives just sitting there ready, sitting there needing fixed up and to use. Because yeah, unfortunately, these were corporate machines. These were not found in people's homes unless they took them home from the business after they were being scrapped out, which I guess only the most hardcore guys would have done. So because these were business corporate machines, a lot of these were still being used for quite a while. In fact, there was a YouTube short that popped up on my feed where there was a PDP-11 of some kind still running some kind of furnace. And it's like holy crap. Your other modern options is the Cubone. Kelly's talked about doing a short run of them to sell to us Cubus guys. Oh, really? Oh, that'd be awesome. Is that the... So what Charles what is talking about there with the Cubone, it's a modern, basically it's a modern Cubus card, and there's a Unibus version called the Unibone that slot plugs into the backplane, and it uses a, not a microcontroller, it's something similar to Arduino. Uh-oh. Okay, for a second, OBS disconnected for a second. But anyway, yeah, it's basically a modern Unibus or QBus based card that uses a Raspberry Pi or some sort of micro. I think it's a microcontroller similar to the Raspberry Pi, but it's not. It's a different type of microcontroller. That you can load images and stuff onto, and it basically acts as, it does a lot of things. It basically can act as like a emulated storage drive. ARM Cortex. Yeah, it's a ARM based micro. Basically, it's a tiny like microcomputer, mini computer thing, a modern one that uses the ARM processor. I couldn't remember what the processor was. I was sitting there going in my head, it's like, it starts with an A, but it's not Arduino. What is it? But yeah, basically it's a modern storage solution for one of these. And that is a long-term thing with this. Once this thing's running code and I can use PDP-11 GUI to load fractal stuff and basic and RT11 and disk images and that kind of stuff. That's the eventual goal, is to get a Cubone for this. In fact, I think was he building them as quad height, or was he building them as dual height? Because I remember that there was something about the dual height and quad height thing. It can also, oh yeah, I forgot about that. The Cubone can also do emulate like massive amounts of RAM if, okay, with the, it can emulate massive amounts of RAM with a modded backplane, which is something I don't know if I want to do with this, because I think this is a, I've been told a couple different things. I've been told this is a 16-bit. I've been told this was an 18-bit backplane. But either way, there's a quick mod that you can do. You just run a couple wires on the backplane, and it bumps it up to a 22-bit, which really opens up the possibilities for this backplane and this whole computer. But I want to get it working first before I do any modding to it. It's kind of like every other computer in here that I'm restoring. I want to get it working as best I can, as close as I can to using physical media if possible, and then from there modifying it. He could do either. Well, the reason why I asked that, Charles, is because I don't remember. I don't remember if I kind of forgot that he was. I remember that he was, when you mentioned that. I remember that he was doing the. He was designing the Q bus. He was designing the dual height one for these type of backplanes that are kind of picky on their cards, because you can't run certain quad height cards with this particular backplane on these 1103s, because there's a bus load problem, I think, is what I remember on the documentation. Like certain quad height cards you can't run on this version of the Q bus. I don't know. the PDP-11, I know about as much as that right now as I do the Apple III at this moment. I haven't done too much digging into the Apple III either, which that's a next future project. That's kind of why it's sitting up over here, was because I kind of assumed that this was not going to go well in this live, and then I would have to jump onto something else. But yeah, everything went great in this video. I can't believe it. Whew. I mean, I can cross this off the list, but now I'm going to have to figure out something else to do in some lives. Well, I mean, going to be doing stuff with the Apple III at some point too. There's a Cubone dual available from Decromancer, but it's expensive. Yeah, the Cubone, like the Cubone and the Unibones themselves are just, when I first saw Usagi using it on his, was that the 1123 or the 44 he was working on? One of them. That's when I started looking them up, and I saw they were expensive for what they are, and I was kind of trying to figure out what made them so expensive. But I guess if it's just small batch stuff, then yeah, they're going to be kind of expensive. Was it? I don't know. That's all. The Q-Buzz is all long ways out future stuff. I just want to see if it was on the, yeah, okay, the 1144. It was the Unibus or the Unibone version. I knew it was one of the PDPs he was working on. Which I am I'm really excited to see him get to cracking on that that one he found, that part he found for it. I between him and Dave's Garage, good lord. They're just like, it's like they're competing. It's like there's like a not competing, but they're both building up like the most powerful PDP-11 super weapons they can. It seems like. But other than that, the Cubone thing, that's long ways out. I have I have stage goals of what I want done for this thing over the next year. And tonight I basically did like 2 or 3 of them. I cracked open the power supply and saw that it was good, put power to it, and saw power coming out of the backplane. So this is like almost 2 lives worth of stuff going into this. Because like I said, I was expecting this to have issues. I mean, there could still be issues. I don't know how many of the cards work, and I'm not gonna know until I get that card built or found or whatever. But yeah, this is a lot of progress for a single live. I'm happy. So the next time you guys are gonna see this thing, hopefully it's when I either have borrowed a power monitor board or I've got the components to build or have built the power monitor board so I can slot into that power supply and also at the same time build the serial cable. And then from there, throwing power at it and see if I get anything on the terminal. That's the next live stream for this anyway. It's going to be a little bit before I can get all the resistors and capacitors and ICs and the PCBs ordered. Not sure when that's going to be. That might be a winter project. That way I can just sit down here and solder them at my leisure. So yeah, next time you see the PDP-11, it's going to be hopefully with a power monitor board, either built, borrowed, or bought. And we're going to be, well, seeing if it works then. Don't know time frame for that, but that's what the goal is for the next live stream for that. So yes, for anybody who is joining us, because I keep seeing the viewer numbers jump up and down. This is the PDP-11 that we just got done. Well, being surprised at when we were power testing it. It is missing a part out of the power supply. It is missing the power monitor board, which is needed to send 2 necessary clock signals to the CPU cards to enable them. Unfortunately, with that missing, it will not power up and show anything, but it does show the power on light, the run light, and the power supply lugs do output the correct 12 and 5 volt. So this thing is, as of right now, tentatively 98% working. Yeah, I'm going to end the live here pretty soon because there's really nothing else I can realistically test on this until I find a way to get that power monitor board done. This is going to be a very long running restoration. Maybe hopefully the next time you see this thing, like I said, I will be either having the power monitor board ready to install so we can really throw some power at this thing and really see how much life is in this thing, and then we can go from there and get plans going for any software to run in here. And that's going to be the trick, is maybe in that next live, if I get power going to it, maybe we can try and get PDP-11 GUI to work and connect it to it, because that's something else I need to do. I need to build I need to build 2 cables, one for the terminal, one for the emulated. Well, no, I would just need 1 cable because I can't. I don't know. But yeah, this live stream went really, really good. I'm really happy that everything just kind of worked out. The power supply is functional-ish. I'm getting 12 and 5 volt at the CPU card. I'm just missing those 2 clock signals, which is me missing that card. So I'm sounding like a broken record at this point. Yeah, next time you see this thing is going to be hopefully with that power board. I'm going to be doing this front panel restoration either in just a small separate video, not really a live stream, because I need to take it to work and sandblast it and then powder coat it or paint it white and paint the raised lettering here brown so that it really pops and stands out. And then hopefully I can get this thing slid into I need to buy a server rack for down here because I need to put my other stuff in it. And unfortunately I need to buy one that's deep enough for this particular chassis because it's a little bit deeper than most modern servers. So, yeah. I don't even know how long this Live's been going a little over an hour and a half. And a lot of that was just me just in shock and awe and talking. So I'm going to be ending the stream here in a few minutes. I want to thank you all who have watched for watching, and for everybody who's been enjoying this stream so far. Huge thanks to Charles Retro Computing Ranch for getting me in contact with the gentleman that had this thing and getting it into my computer hoard down here, and for basically giving me a bunch of knowledge and information as I was going with this. As we went. Yep. The next time you see this thing, like I've said it a few different times, we're going to be hopefully having a power monitor board of, hopefully, in my hand and possession, whether it's one I built, bought, or borrowed from some generous, well, viewer, hoarder, collector. I guess basically, if I find anybody at VCF Midwest who has a warehouse full of PDP-11 03s or 23s or whatever with the same power supply that has that same board that they're not using, that I could acquire and borrow that board to get this thing working. That'll be the next time you see this thing, in the intention in a live stream that we're going to be working on, because that's what I want this thing to do. Is I want to work on this in a live stream, is because I think it'd be a lot of fun for the channel. But yeah, the next time you see this thing, we're going to be working on the power monitor board. I don't know when that's going to be, because again, I got to order a bunch of parts and stuff for it at the very least to get that built. Be on the lookout for my next live stream, which is hopefully going to be next week. I'm going to start being more consistent with live streams now that I'm having a lot of fun with it. And now that I have hardware to do it, I do see one thing I need to do is I need to get one of those, I've seen them, they're a desktop mount. It's a tree that has like 4 arms, one for a mic, one for camera, one for a tray for a laptop, and then a mount for a second monitor. I need to get one of those so that I can set up all of this. Because right now I've got a camera, a microphone, a second monitor, my laptop. I just need it all consolidated into one tree. That way it's easier for me to just plug in and start streaming. My next live stream is going to be the Apple III back here next Wednesday, roughly around the same time, unless there's something going on, and then I'll reschedule it. But next Wednesday, around the same time, is going to be the Apple III. We're going to be tackling that very nasty thing and seeing if we can get it to show any signs of life as well. That is one that I picked up this past year from the former Apple technician, that I basically picked up almost 200-300 pounds of Apple II stuff from. And we're going to see if we can get that Apple III to work. I'm really curious if we can, because it's been sitting in an attic for God knows how long, and there's something rattling around inside of it. So that's going to be a really fun future project. Again, thank you all for watching the stream. We're going to be ending it here in a second. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for enjoying. Thank you to Charles Retro Computing Ranch for getting me hooked up with this thing, and for also all the advice he's been giving me about this thing during the live stream. And also, well, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Be on the lookout for this and some more live streams and videos in the future. I'm going to be cutting this video up into a dedicated video. So be on the lookout for that if you guys want to recap of all the randomness from this thing. And, well, I guess I'll see you all in the next live next week. Thanks for watching. Oh, my God, this was awesome. I love it. Yeah, my wife just reminded me maybe do it a little later than what I did today. I did it for 6. Oh, crap. Well, that's fine. Yeah, I did 6:30 today because I had half day for an appointment. Yeah, my wife's laughing at me. Love it. Anyway, yeah. Probably gonna be a little bit later next Wednesday. Maybe more closer to around 7:30 when I start working on the next live, which is gonna be the Apple III. Today was just, I had a half day and I had some appointments and stuff to run, and yeah, it's Probably should have started a little later, but hey, that's fine. It was a lot of fun. I spilt water on myself, which is hilarious. So, yeah, I'm just gonna end the live here. So, again, thank you all so much for watching this stream. I really hope you enjoyed taking a look at my PDP-11 here. I'm going to be releasing the video here shortly, hopefully in the next day or two, and everybody can see the recap of the fun that was this thing. So, see you, everyone. Thanks for watching, and see you next week. Work on that drinking problem. Hey, you know, it's sometimes you just can't help being a little klutzy when drinking. Anyway, I'm out of the live. Thanks everyone for watching.